For the last several days, there's been some astonishing maneuvering at the highest levels of the party. Some of the most senior people in the party thought the unthinkable. Deep into this election campaign, they thought about putting pressure on John Turner to quit. But CBC News has learned they've pulled back and are now prepared to work to salvage the campaign. Our chief correspondent, Peter Mansbridge, has the story of a party in crisis.
Last Thursday, 4 top Liberal strategists met at party headquarters in Ottawa. Michael Kirby, John Webster, Al Graham, and Andre Ouellette met to discuss just how poorly the Liberal campaign was going. They talked about a lot of things: the polls, the ridings where they couldn't get candidates, the poor image of the leader, even the impact of an immediate change in leadership. The next day, all 4 men signed documents outlining the desperate situation the party was in and sent them to John Turner at the Liberal leader's official residence, Stornoway. They did not include their thoughts about leadership, but they did ask to see Turner in a face-to-face meeting. At Stornoway, Turner read the briefing, but remained resolute, convinced the campaign was still winnable, even if he had to do it alone. He refused to meet the strategists. The next day, Saturday, Turner talked to some of them by phone, leaving them convinced he would not step down. The strategists decided a leadership change was not an option any longer, and others impressed upon them that the campaign must go on, that dissent must end. But then Sunday night, the CBC poll results, especially the leadership questions where Turner ranked dead last on every one of 10 different qualities. A frenzied series of cross-country phone calls took place by strategists and senior Liberal candidates trying to assess the damage and the options. 5 of the candidates, Turner's front bench in the House of Commons, called for a crisis meeting with Turner. Herb Gray from Windsor, Lloyd Axworthy from Winnipeg, Bob Kaplan from Toronto, Andre Ouellette, who'd been in the strategist meeting, and Raymond Garneau from Quebec. By late Monday, Gray put in the request by phone for a meeting with Turner, but he was blocked by Principal Secretary Peter Connolly. Connolly was determined not to allow Turner to get into these kind of discussions until he comes back to Ottawa later this week. It's not clear yet what the 5 MPs wanted to tell Turner, but it is known that asking Turner to step aside had been discussed by some of the group. But some also felt that if Turner was forced out, the party could be left in ruins by a very public bloodbath. For the next 2 days, right up until late this afternoon, there was confusion and chaos. The senior aides with Turner on the campaign trail would not talk to senior strategists and candidates on the ground. Connolly didn't know who to trust anymore. All this follows an incredible 4-week period inside the most senior levels of the Liberal Party. Here's what we know has happened. 10 days before the election call, Michael Kirby went to see John Turner in his Parliament Hill office. Kirby told Turner that private polling showed the Tories, with at least 155 seats, a clear majority going into the campaign, and one of the Liberals' biggest problems was the image of their leader. Kirby did not ask Turner to quit. He just laid out the facts. Turner's next visitor was more blunt. During a meeting punctuated with shouting, Raymond Garneau, the party's Quebec lieutenant, told Turner he must quit, that the future of the Liberal Party was at stake. But Turner said no, this was his campaign. Only Martin Goldfarb, the Liberal pollster, had good news going into the campaign. Goldfarb told Turner the election was still up for grabs. But by day 10 of the campaign, after a few campaign fumbles, even Goldfarb was telling Turner all was lost. The Tories were sweeping, and a halo of victory hovered over Brian Mulroney, a halo too firm to be knocked off. And while all this was going on, Turner was in agonizing physical pain. He'd pinched a nerve in his back, could barely walk, could barely stand up for speeches. In Toronto, just hours before this huge Liberal fundraiser, Turner was with his doctor, trying to find some relief for the pain. He told friends he was worried about simply making it through the campaign on physical grounds. It was the following night, last Thursday, that the 4 top Liberal strategists met to file their campaign assessment and talk about asking Turner to leave. But late this afternoon, there were dramatic changes in this story. Liberals at all levels seemed to realize that they were heading towards a major confrontation, and that the party in the process was only destroying itself. The strategists with Turner and those back in Ottawa have decided to have a special meeting on Friday to try and sort out the differences between them. And the candidates have backed off on their request for a meeting with Turner. convinced that Turner has no intention of stepping down. But they are not happy. They're not happy with the treatment they've been getting. They're not happy with the lack of consultation on major new policies like abortion. But mostly they're not happy with the performance of their party or their leader, now almost halfway through the election campaign. Peter Mansbridge, CBC News, Toronto.
As soon as the National was seen in Eastern Canada tonight, Turner's campaign people in Vancouver knew about the contents of our report. After a Liberal fundraiser, Turner told reporters our story was nonsense.
As I say, it is a lot of nonsense. Now I'm going to go back and meet some real people.
I mean, the perception of this happening cannot be helping your campaign.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Nino. I've been dealing with reality. The people in here are dealing with reality.
How does this make you feel? How does it make you feel during this campaign? You must be getting pretty upset.
I would think the country, as I said today, wants to start to deal with the issues.
What is your party going to start dealing with them? Thank you very much.
There was no comment on our report from Liberal Party headquarters in Ottawa. Peter Connolly, Turner's principal secretary, called the National's report preposterous. CBC News stands by its story.